Ladies and gentlemen, now we are moving on to the third and interesting business session, Coping with COVID-19, a regional focus, what's happening in South Asia. So since morning, we were discussing about the container trade, COVID impact globally, how the trend has been, and how the container traffic affected in India, the blank sailings, the pressure on shortage of equipment, shortage of containers, and then the freight rates going up, and then so how do you deal with all these situations? What is the future? So these things were being discussed. So we kept this session because South Asia is very, very important. We are very closely connected, and there is a lot of container movement happens. A lot of developments were also happening in this region. So this session will talk about essentially what's happening in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal, and how Indian ports are supporting this trade. We'll focus on that. Today we have with us Mr. Vineet Kumar, Chairman of Calcutta Port Trust, with us. Then next we have Mr. Romesh David, who is the Chief Executive Officer of South Asia Gateway Terminals Limited, Colombo. Then we have Mr. Kabir Ahmad. He is the Chairman of Conveyor Group and also President of Bangladesh Freight Forwarders Association. Then we have Mr. Naresh Agarwal, who is the Treasurer of Nepal Freight Forwarders Association, and Mr. Surajit Sarkar, who is the Chief Operating Officer, NICDC Logistics Data Services, which is providing a lot of container data to the market. So we are talking about a lot of digitalization, so he would share some perspectives on the digitalization. So with this introduction, what I'm going to do is, with the permission of Chairman Mr. Vineet Kumar, first I would like to talk to Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal, and then finally come to Indian scenario, because it will give us an understanding of what's happening in this region, and then it can be supported well. Is it okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. So let me begin with Mr. Ramesh David. See, we have seen Sri Lanka not being affected seriously like India in the initial days, and now it looks like the outbreak is spreading much faster, and the government is taking tough measures. We also have seen some disruptions happening at the ports and terminals some time ago. So what is the current situation and how are the operations at Colombo terminals, including SAGT? If you can give us a brief picture, then we will move on to the next thing.
Okay, thank you, Ram Prasad, and thank you very much for having me on. It's a great pleasure to be back, actually. I think the context here is that in the context of the global pandemic and how it affected countries globally, Sri Lanka is among the possibly top 5 or 6 best managed countries in terms of managing the spread of the pandemic and managing business within the country. Having said that, and from a very low number of around 3,500 cases totally, over the last 1 week, we've had a new cluster that has come up, which is in a district adjacent to the Colombo district, where over the last 5 or 6 days, we've had a little over 1,000 cases. So literally, a 25% increase in the total case count. This has, as in the past, as it was in April or in March and April, the government reacted fairly fast and closed down those specific areas. So wherever the cluster, the townships and the suburbs and the police areas, there has been a curfew in place, so that essentially containing, with a view to containing the outbreak to the vicinity of those. This has had, given the proximity of these townships to Colombo, There has been some impact in terms of staffing in the port, but not to the extent that it has so far affected any movements. So the port operations are continuing. This has had no bearing on what how we've been performing in the last 3 months. We have had a little bit, a few delays here and there in the last few weeks, particularly a lot of it based on weather. We've had highly inclement weather that has affected both Colombo and also ports in the region. But perhaps we can come to the details of that later on.
Thank you, Ramesh. Let me move on to Mr. Kabir Ahmad. Kabir, similar questions to you. How are things in Dhaka, especially the operations at Chittagong Port and Panagong Terminal? If you can give us a quick overview.
Thank you very much, Ramesh, for inviting me for this very important session, Container India 2020. To your question, as you know that since April, beginning of April and the end of March, actually, Bangladesh has gone to lockdown. And the first few weeks, it has been almost like a panic and everything has stand still. And slowly, people has realized, no, that we have to get out from this situation. And then actually our government has started with a very carefully resuming the operation. And then they have, of course, BAFA being the handling the 90% over the export and import throughout the ports. And we have taken also the initiative with a careful, keeping a careful measure, health, safety and everything, started resuming the operation. And then obviously April was a little slow, but from May onward, actually, we started doing almost, I would say almost normal operation, even though we have a lockdown, but government could manage it very well. And I would say Chittagong Port, Dhaka Airport, Civil Aviation Authority of Bangladesh and Mongla Port, they really have done a very good job to do the situation. And you see that if I see today, like last month, almost Chittagong Port has been handling 246,000 TEUs. So this is almost, I think a little higher than last year. So you see, this is something, you know, even Dhaka Airport, yesterday I saw the export turnover was 785 tons in the export. So which is again, the same time, if you do on a daily ratio, now it is 500, 600, you see, only I think skeleton flights are operating, and most of them we are based on the charter flights. So still, you see, the situation is coming normal, and this is how we call the new normal, and that's how we are operating, and then we are achieving the goals. That's it. So if you have any question, I can add later on.
Yeah, one supplementary question to that. The moment we say Bangladesh, textiles comes to our mind, that being the major this thing. So initially, we heard about a lot of cancellations happening from Europe, because Europe being the most affected region. So how are things with the textiles? And obviously, this is a very impressive figure, 146,000 TEUs handling. So how much of it has come back?
Actually, well, I think, between India and Bangladesh and the neighborings, I think we know what is going on where. So I think you can definitely watching the situation. You know that initially, you remember the Rubana Haq, the president of BGMA, and she has been, lobbying here and there because the huge cancellation in order, and the order has been placed, and all are in the halfway through, 75 through, 80% through, and then order has been cancelling. What's going to happen with the factories. So government has really taken a very good initiative, and the government has declared many stimulus package, and that works very well, and that really gives the breathing to all the factories, and that was real oxygen for the factories, and they could survive. And now I think, to me, I don't see one factory is closed, and all are under good production. And I think the order and it is just growing, same as I was listening some of the speaker in the last session, and a V-shape growing. It is almost in the same situation in Bangladesh, and I'm very optimistic that we will going to catch up, and 2021 we will have. I'm expecting even at least 5 to 10% more revenue for this country. So now our garment situation, I would say it is almost the normal. So otherwise, because our government's initiative, because of the stimulus package, and also of course our government's leadership, they have done a good job, and they have done really good challenge to bring back all the workers from the remote and the resume the factory. I think they have started doing after mid-April, and the mainstream has started from May and June. So by the time it has become normal in the last 3 months.
Thank you, Kabir. I will come back to you. Now let me go to Mr. Naresh Agrawal. Naresh ji, so can you give me a brief overview of what's happening in Nepal as far as the container trade is concerned?
Good afternoon to all. Regarding this pandemic is concerned, Nepal is also badly affected by this pandemic. And we assume that we have an average loss of now, so far 400 billion has been lost. Regarding the container movement is concerned, we have seen a decline of 23% from April to August. And mostly the decline is in road movement. Together there is a decline of 23%, and the majority of it is on the road movement. The rail movement was not much affected during the lockdown. Also, it was smoothly being done. Though we have we share open border with India, but the movement, only the goods and the transportation movement is open with India. The public transmission and the border is not open for the general public. So, in last month, we have seen a slight increase in the container movement from the import. And in future, since this is the festival season, there will be an increase in the container movement. But comparing to the last year, there is not a significant increase in the movement of the container from the Indian ports. At the same time, we do not have much movement from the northern border point also. Domestically, we have all transits have been opened domestically also since last month. Before that, we don't have much movement inside the country also, though the cargo movement was allowed. So I think by the end of the year, we may be able to somehow match the figure of import last year. Regarding export is concerned, we have negligible export out of Nepal. Since many years, the economy of Nepal is import-based economy. And container movement export was also not much in last 4 months. Now, with the operation of the international flight, the charter flight, the export movement has been increased since last month. Thank you, Ramprasad.
Thank you, Naresh. Now let me go to Mr. Kumar. Sir, as far as Calcutta Port is concerned, both Nepal and Bangladesh are closely connected for the trade purposes. So how is the trade moving through Calcutta Port, and any new initiatives in view of the pandemic or post-pandemic you have taken to facilitate these countries?
Thank you, Ramprasad ji, and very good afternoon to all my colleague panelists and the viewers. It's very actually heartening to note that in South Asian region, I find that Bangladesh as well as Colombo is doing pretty well. It's okay. So the situation is not that bad. So it is very heartening to note. In Calcutta also, now as far as if we see the total trade wise, volume wise, we are down by around 18% as compared to last year. But in containers, we are less by around 25%. This was much more in the beginning. In the first 2-3 months, it was almost as poor as in the first quarter, you can say it was as low as 50% volumes of the last year. But in the last 3 months, things have picked up. In fact, last month has been reasonably well. As far as containers are concerned, this month, the first few days are the days where we have been doing better than the last year. Otherwise, in the entire first 6 months, our daily numbers were always less than the previous year. But this first 8-9 days of October, we have been able to surpass the last year figures. So the recovery is there. Bulk cargo, though not of much of interest, but bulk cargo has really picked up. In last month in Haldia, we are 14% more than what we did last year. So that gives a sign that the major industry, that is steel, cement, and other industries, they are back on track. Containers now, this is actually our season, and now means by God's grace, now things are much more in control. While the port has never stopped working, we have been working each and every day during the pandemic. But the volumes and the handling was initially low. But from the last 3 months, the port is working at its full capacity. So there is absolutely no issue. This is despite having more than 500 plus cases of COVID positive cases in our port employees and their associates. But we have been able to manage, and our outlook is that maybe this month onwards, the things will be as good as last year. And by the end of the year, we think that we will be either matching the last year figures or maybe down by 10% or so. So that is our estimate. Now, as regards various measures are concerned, I think one thing which is of prime importance is to take care of your people, because you can't run a port without manpower. It is a very critical aspect, and as I told you, we have been quite successful in handling the crisis in the matter that we have had more than 500 cases, but we have all handled them in our own port hospital. And the strict regimens have been introduced in the beginning itself, and because of that, this work has never suffered. As regards, this is a hard time for all of us, for ports, for trade, for industry, for exporter, importers, everybody. We have been, giving a lot of concessions on our rail freight, on the storage charges. The Ministry of Shipping has given 2 months rebate on the storage charges. For Nepal, we especially did not move, at least from 23rd March till 3rd of May, I didn't move out any container of Nepal to any CFS. All were kept in the port only, and the normal charges were levied. And even after then, we were moved to the CFS. We moved it only to 2 CFSs who promised that they will only charge a fixed rate of some 4,000 rupees or so, and will give an additional time of 15 days. So we have been able to contain the damage to a great extent. Of course, there might be some these things. For exporters, the imbalance between import and export is one thing which is still continuing. Initially the imports were really down, exports were really down, imports were trickling in. Then after 2-3 months, when the unlock started, the picture changed. Imports came down and exports picked up. But last month our figures are, it is almost 50-50 now. So the imbalance which is in their system as of now, and which is causing the shortage of containers and all that, maybe I feel that maybe in few more days to come, now things are balancing out, and maybe in few more days to come, this problem will be solved to a great extent. The shortages shall not be there. One, you can say, blessing in disguise kind has been that we were forced to implement or hasten the pace of implementation of the long pending IT initiatives which we were thinking we would do. But because of the pandemic, we did them very during this period. So one very positive thing is that the entire export process, filing of papers in Calcutta port, is now purely online. You need not come to port to give a single paper. So all the CHAs, and we have discontinued collecting any paper from 10th of September. That was the last cutoff date. We have moved in a process of similar process for import also. The trial has already started on 7th of this month. Hopefully, it will take another 1 month, and after a month, we will all the import processing, paper processing will also be on online, and there is no need for any human interaction or human contact. The entire our RFID system, we have fully brought it on to the e-platform. You can book your cards and everything on e-platform. So these kind of initiatives we have already taken, and still number of initiatives are going on. We are a couple of more initiatives, like as of now, we being a city port have a problem of a lot of trucks coming in and going out. So we have partnered with a company called GoCon, and they are coming with a truck optimization solution, something like Ola Uber of the trucking system. So the trucks which are coming in to drop and export container, while going back they can pick up so that kind of IT solution is there. So all these things are going on, but as everybody said, I think the skies are clearing now, and we look forward to better days in the next half of this year. That is the perspective from my side.
Thank you, Vinitji. We will come back to you with a lot more questions. Let me move on to Surajit Sarkar, who is the Chief Operating Officer into logistics data management. Surajitji, what kind of container data that you have been collecting, and how it can benefit the trade? Because especially in times of these kind of challenges, we need to understand how the containers are moving and who is doing what and all that. So can you give us briefly your idea?
Thank you, Ramprasad ji. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dinesh sir, and all my esteemed panelists. As you know, through logistics data bank, we are giving the informations of the container movements, and this systems is also integrated with the terminal operating systems, and also with the FOIS systems of the railway, that is Freight Operating Information Management System. So when a container is unloaded from a vessels, because the operations what we are doing in Calcutta, which is a little different from other ports. So Calcutta, we are actually putting the RFID tag when a container is offloaded from the vessels, and we have a fixed reader. It is actually out gate of the terminal or in the port gate. So exporter and importer, they will get two valuable information on the first leg. Means when a container is offloaded, what time it is offloaded from the vessels, which vessels, when it is moving out from the terminal. So they will also come to know, how long that container is actually staying in the terminal. And then we have our readers, across the toll plaza. We have, so when it is passing through, they will get the information of the container. Now, if I have to emphasize about, these neighboring countries for Bangladesh and Nepal, because Colombo, in any case, the movement is happening only by sea, and that is a transshipment port. But for Bangladesh and Nepal, like till Birganj ICD, if they track the container through our platform or ldb.co.in, so they will get the informations because we are integrated with the FOIS. And we have also got a permissions to install our readers. So when the container is offloaded from the rack, that information also will be available. And when it is out from the Birganj ICD, that is also available. So this is one important development. Another important development, we have also installed readers in 4 ICPs. So these are the international checkposts, and that will also give the visibility for the container which are moving by road for these countries when the container are actually cleared from those ICPs. So this is one we have already installed in Roxholm, Jogbani, the Agartala. Agartala will come little later, and then in Petrapol. So Petrapol, as you know, we have started the train service for exports from India. And so the containers which are going to Benapol, so they'll also come to know when it has actually reached Petrapol and what time it is cleared from the Petrapol, the rail link. As far as Birganj and this Ruxel is concerned. So there they will also come to know what time, it is cleared from those ICPs point. And you also know the India-Bangladesh, the trade, mainly to northeastern countries, that is also, the one trial service has already happened. That is Calcutta, Chittagong, and then, further to connect to northeast. So we have installed our readers in Agartala, and this entire visibility also will be available. So we are also in touch with the Bangladesh, mainly with the Chittagong port. So like from Chittagong to Agartala, if they can facilitate us, so we can also install readers. So so Bangladesh visibility also can be provided. In any case, when the service will start, all the trade will come to know when it is offloaded in Chittagong, and then for further, like we have to install a reader in Chittagong, and that stretch, which is Chittagong to Agartala. And in any case, Agartala also LPI, Land Port Authority of India, for that ICP, we have installed the reader. So once this movement will start, that leg also will give the entire visibility. Another important aspect is we also publish, monthly analytics. And this analytics also will give insights for the neighboring countries as well, how to improve the performance of the trade. So like, and these analytics are available also today in the website. So anyone can download and can see what is happening in the supply chain and, in the EXIM supply chain, which all areas probably improvements are required. So like, even that analytics, we can also publish the data for ICD Birganj and for the, other ICPs where we have installed readers, how much time it is taking, for clearance each container, which will definitely, add value for this trade. And apart from that, we are also ready for any kind of inputs and support, is required from Bangladesh and Nepal, for the containers which are moving into, from this checkpost to their respective country. So you have to install reader in any of their industrial locations where they feel maximum containers are getting consumed. So we can also give the visibility of that leg. So we are ready for that. And definitely, we'll also have a interactive sessions with them. Already we are in touch with Nepal Custom Association and also the Bangladesh Custom Associations. How to, enhance our reach and give better connectivity for the trade. That is from my side, Dr. Saji.
Yeah, thank you, Surajit. So what I understand is one is this data will provide transparency as well as like numbers, analytics, which the trade can use, and it is available on the website freely. Okay, I'll come back to you on that. Mr. Ramesh, the lines due to demand supply demand gaps on the major trading routes, these vessel schedules have been constantly changing, putting into some uncertainty. So this happened during the COVID scenario, and also it is continuing, I believe. So what kind of effect it has on the transshipment at your port? That is the first part of the question. Second part is, since morning, everybody is talking about the imbalance between imports and exports, which has put a lot of pressure on the equipment, non-availability of containers. So can you throw some light on what is the transshipment scenario at your end because of these two challenges?
Yeah, so I think there are the two issues there. Firstly, transshipment in terms of the services, we had a steep fall in April, both in terms of the services calling at Colombo. I think while shipping lines were trying to get a grip on what the extent of the issue was, they did cut a lot of sailings. They cut back on the number of vessel calls, particularly on the major trades, quite dramatically. And that had both a volume and a frequency impact in Colombo. So it created a massive shortfall in the month of April. We saw that reversing quite fast from June, July onwards. And in fact, now, whilst year to date, year-on-year volumes are down 4% over the 9-month period, in the 3 months since July, volumes are actually up year-on-year. So we are higher than for the same quarter last year. And this is basically on the back of a couple of things. One is we've seen the frequencies come back entirely. So as of last month, almost all the blankings have been taken away. So the mainline services are calling Colombo fully. And we've seen the advent of another phenomena in which we've had additional intra-Asia services, particularly in the Gulf, on the Gulf and India-Sri Lanka trade and Bay of Bengal-Sri Lanka trade, where we've had more services coming in to connect over Colombo than we had in the past. So in the last 3 months, particularly, we've seen a rise, and that's evident in the total port numbers. But it has come at a bit of a cost, because in this hiatus, because of the equipment shortage, I would assume, and because of the initial shortage of offtake or the frequency out of Colombo, we had a fairly substantial buildup of inventory in Colombo. That was exacerbated even further because of the imbalance in India, where lines had to start positioning empties into the region, to India for exports, because exports was growing, imports was coming down. And then we had an influx of empties also into Colombo for repositioning throughout India. So the net result of that is we talked about a little bit about the congestion earlier. We did have some yard congestion in Colombo, where because the lines brought in large numbers of containers that were then staying here for a longer duration than previously. We had a situation where the times actually between 3 and 4 days. Now these have pulled back quite significantly over the last few weeks, and we are back at about 4.5 days. So we think we see both the services as well as volumes, which took a bit of a dive in the first quarter, or in the April quarter, have come back extremely strongly, mainly on the back of transshipment growth.
Excellent, Ramesh. I put the same question to Mr. Kapil as well. So how is the equipment shortage imbalance at Chittagong? How are you dealing with that, and what is the challenge?
I think this is an acute problem. Though our actually I can see, I don't know why it is that I can see our import. If you see the September, our import was 122,513 TEUs in September. Mm-hmm. And the export is 124,009. That's the figure for September. But there are previous other months, the difference was very significant. Mm-hmm. So we have a serious issue with this equipment so that we have to bring a lot of equipment. That's how the freight gets very expensive, because of we have to bring a lot of empty equipments to feed our export containers.
So your imports are also maintaining at the same level, more or less?
No, this is not more or less, but it's not always. But it is always, there is an imbalance. And this is, I don't know why it has been because see, Bangladesh is predominantly always an importing country. Yeah. But we always have mainly a lot of problems with the very special equipments. That's always we have a lot of problems. But recently, you see that we have a lot of project cargo coming in Bangladesh, because we have many infrastructure projects, power plant projects, oil and gas and road, and there are a lot of equipments are coming. But for the special equipment, this is other way around, and these are all you have to send back to the empty, either in Singapore or Colombo or or Port Kalang or other part of the world.
Thank you. My next question is to both Mr. Vineet Kumar and Naresh Agarwal. Nepal cargo has been smoothly moving when this, of course, with the initial hiccups after this ECTS was implemented, and also subsequently now I understand that there is a special zone created for Nepal cargo. So how is the cargo movement with these initiatives of ECTS and the special zone? If you both of you can give me elaborate. Mr. Vineet Kumar.
Yeah. See, ECTS has been a welcome thing for us. However, in Calcutta, both ECTS and CTD system are going on. But ECTS, most of the rail movement is happening on ECTS. And this has cut down the time, brought in more transparency. And the rail movement in the first 2-3 months was very quite diminished. It has come down to I think 900 containers, 10 rakes or so. But last month it has picked up. We did around 20 rakes, and this month by this time we have already done six or 7 rakes. So things are quite back to normal, and ECTS has been a very welcome thing from us. Of course, there are issues regarding the cost of ECTS, and probably I think in the this was the initial phase, and in the future, as this competition comes in this space also, maybe the cost of ECTS will also come down. Another welcome thing is that the EDI connectivity with Birganj, which was not there, has also been done by customs. So that will further increase the transparency, and now everything gets electronically transmitted, so time of transaction shall reduce. I think it has been done around 10 days back. There were some glitches, but minor glitches which were technical glitches. They are also being taken care of. So I think with these 2 initiatives, the things have become smoother and better. They are more transparent. And I must thank, in fact, you, Mr. Ramprasad, also, that because of your initiatives, the communication of Calcutta Port Trust with the Nepalese importers, exporters had improved. And it is because of this, the improved communication, our response time and our responses have also improved. So I think the Nepal trade is following the general trend of the Indian trade, and it's on upswing as of
now. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the compliment. We have been able to assist you for smooth trade facilitation. It is always a pleasure to help the enterprises, and I would like to see the same kind of trade relations between Bangladesh and Calcutta Port as well in coming days. So Naresh ji, from your side, so earlier we had a lot of complaints from Nepal trade, and that how ECTS is more or less streamlined, and recently we came to know about the special zone created by. So do you have any other issues in container movement?
Yeah. As Vineet rightly said, that is a welcome step. The Nepal government has also welcomed the ECTS system, and we are believing that it will convert it into a transshipment modality. The procedure established with the ECTS was that the transshipment bond can be filed only by the carrier or the Concor, but the Concor is not filing the transshipment bond on this transshipment modality. As far as the ECTS is concerned, we were expecting that the cost and the transparency will be reduced and the transparency will be increased. And the damage and detention issue was the big issue for Nepal. Now we believe that with the implementation of the ECTS, the cost has not decreased, rather than it has increased. It seems that the carrier has they're inclined to collect the damage and detention charges, and now they have built in the name of the ECTS, just changing the head of transportation the damage to the transportation head. So the cost has been increased, and we are expecting that this ECTS was initially implemented as a pilot project for the 6 months, and the cost of the seal is also, we feel, it's a very high. And now is the high time to review the ECTS procedures, and there should be a multiple vendor also. And we believe that NTWCL, which is a government of Nepal enterprise, which is an nodal agency, should also be given authority to file a transshipment bond, and other multiple vendors for the ECTS should also be provided, so that there should be a fair competition and the trade is benefited as far as the cost is concerned. And now, as regards with the special zone, first of all, we are thankful to Mr. Biniji and his team, in this pandemic, we do not have much issues. Whereas earlier we have much issues, the damage and the procedures. Initially, there was a certain hiccups for the custom clearance and all those. But with his proactive approach and the system in place, the movement was very smooth because we are not been able to dispatch the original documents from Nepal since the courier service was not functional even in India and Nepal. As per the treaty, the original documents are required to be submitted at Calcutta port, and the original bill of lading has also to be surrendered to shipping lines. So it was Mr. Vinit Kumar's proactive approach with the customs and all those things, and our consulate office also. So they have made certain SOPs and posted on the website of the Calcutta port also, so that it had made easier to surrender the BL to their agent and all those things. So Nepal is thankful to Mr. Vinit Kumar and his team. He has tremendously helped us and supported us in the pandemic. Regarding the special zone is concerned, I believe that it's constructed by NTWCL on a 4,886 square meter land, lease land provided by the port as per the Treaty of Transit. So initially it was built to use for the movement of vehicles. Vehicles can be stored in that place. Now we are hearing that it will be made a special zone for the Nepal-bound container. The area is very near to the port, and the container even can be offloaded from the vessel directly to that site. But first of all, that area has to be declared as a custom-bounded area, and it is to be equipped with all the equipments handling the containers. And at the same time, we have to see how the cost will be benefited, passed on to the trade. If there will be an additional cost to be imposed on the trade, then it will be another issue for the Nepal trade. Regarding the transfer of cargo to private ships is concerned, in future, if it is required, if there is a congestion in the port, the Nepal-bound container can be transferred to the CFS on an economic rate so that the Nepal trade will be benefit.
Thank you, Naresh ji. Vinit Kumar ji, before I move on, would you like to respond on anything or?
No. What Naresh ji said is that this special zone inside the port, this we have already taken, because port is a custom bonded zone. So we have already taken it inside the custom bonded zone, and there was a gate and something which has been closed. So it's only that the final notification with custom is pending, which their consulate is tying up with them. So it's almost ready, and containers can be kept there. We have provided a gate from within the port only. So it is an area earmarked within the port itself. There is no need to go out. So I think it should see the light of the day in a very shortly. It's working, but the facilities, as he said, for handling containers and all that, that also will be coming shortly. As regards the cost part of it, I would say, see, this is all it is a commercial thing, and it is controlled by so many factors. Earlier, we used to think that to be very frank, that the trade in the Calcutta, Nepalese trade in Calcutta is handled by the agents, and that's why the costs are high. Now we moved on to a system where we gave the authority to lines and to Concor and other such parties. But we realized that the cost has not come down. It is factually what he says is absolutely correct. The costs have not come down. So my very frank opinion is, let there be very free competition. Let the agents also book through ECTS. I am a very staunch supporter of that. Let the agents also book through ECTS. ECTS is just an electronic sealing system. And if a shipping line or Concor or anybody can do that, take that responsibility of bonding, an agent who is a customs agent, it means that he has been given some authority by the custom agent. So he's an authorized agent of the custom. Let him also give that right to do. So I think that is the next step. If that element of competition is introduced, definitely this will the cost shall come down. Very good suggestion which has been made by Naresh ji is the NTWC. The government of Nepal has this body already present in both the ports, having a setup in the country, very well knowing the details and the having the pulse on the trade. It will be very welcome step if NTWC takes on this responsibility of and takes this trade in this hand. It will be a very good option. So I request Naresh ji to push this agenda with your government and authorize NTWC to take over this part and give a challenge to everybody else.
Thank you, Vinit ji. My next question is to Mr. Ramesh David as well as Mr. Kabir Ahmed. We have seen this pandemic accelerating a lot of digitalization initiatives, use of technology as far as our trade facilitation is concerned. Now we are hearing about almost bill of lading being electronic clearance, and then the individual companies are adopting technology. Even the customers also are getting used to it. So can you give me what's happening at Colombo? Because I read SLPA chief also was talking about a lot of digital initiatives. So what's happening? What's on the agenda? Similarly, Kabir, in your country, different stakeholders, what kind of digital initiatives now happening in Bangladesh? First, Ramesh David.
Thank you, Ram Prasad. I think that's one of the greatest positives. We heard about it in the earlier session as well. And we are seeing things that have been in abeyance for the last 20 years getting done in the period of a few weeks. A good example was in April when we started issuing electronic delivery advices. So we gave people delivery without people having to come and collect delivery. Customs started issuing import clearance documents. Last week, Customs announced that they would go to full paperless, where they would not require people to come to office at all. We are now moving ahead with electronic payments. The settlement of customs duty has been electronic for a while. We're now moving to settle all port payments, terminal payments electronically. So these are massive steps. And if you take the government, President Rajapaksa's e-government initiative is massive, and trade facilitation is a huge part of that. So we will see Sri Lanka building on these early steps very quickly. And I think that was in a very dark and dismal part of the pandemic. This was a real silver lining in terms of what happened and the pace at which it happened, and the commitment which is being displayed not only by industry players, but more so by the state sector and the public sector in terms of implementing this. So I think we are going to see some quantum movements. The bill of lading certainly seems to be getting, in Sri Lanka on the transshipment front, all the data is electronically exchanged between the shipping lines at the terminals and the terminals and customs and the terminal. So there is no, so transshipment has been fully automated for many years now. What has been the real bottleneck has been the domestic cargo, import and export, and that is moving ahead extremely fast. And then just briefly, we also recently, as AGT, signed up with TradeLens, which is the blockchain initiative of some of the major carriers in the world. While this doesn't do anything directly for us, it certainly does a lot for our customers and for our customers' customer. So really increasing the value proposition of using those lines and those terminals that have provide that kind of visibility throughout the chain, through the shipment chain. I hope that answers adequately, Ram.
Thank you, Ramesh. Mr. Kabir Ahmed.
Thank you, Vinod. I think I'm almost like, I'd say statement will be closer to Ramesh. Actually, our government is also almost in a government offices, especially if you see the ministries, it is also a product of, I would say, pandemic, that now we call e-Nothi, electronics note, and 80% of all the permissions are being now generating through e-Nothi, electronics Nothi. So like Chief Controller of Import and Export, Commerce Ministry, and all other ministries, and the duty exemption certificates and the import licenses, and all these are being issued electronically, and explosive certificates and many other certificates are being now formed in electronically. But I would not say this is fully digitalized because still customs, some of the procedure are still in a conventional method. Still people need to go visit to the custom house. But though National Board of Revenue, I have been quite a few meetings that they are going to implement the fully paperless clearance very soon. So we are just hoping that it's going to be happen very soon. And in the port and major shipping lines, and most of them are already operating electronic DO. They are issuing electronic DO, and port also all the payments and everything, custom payments and everything already is doing electronically. So actually, there are still some bottlenecks, and we are in a transitional process from the paperwork to physical work to electronically digitalization. And I believe that's going to be happen somewhere between 2021. I'm very optimistic about it. But the problem is, in our country, I think our regionally, a lot of things, I'm not going to criticize the government because a lot of things are being committed, but it didn't take real shape in time that has been committed. So, but because of the pandemic, I think it has taken some shape at least, because there is no way people can go and sign the document, sign the file, and then that's why then I think it has accelerated a bit. So I'm very optimistic about it, and hopefully by 2021 we'll have completely paperless operation, both port customs. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, a lot of people keep saying that this pandemic has helped in a way, pushing us to digitalization. Otherwise, it would have been a very hard sell to push a lot of these players into using technology. That's a good thing. One question to Surjit is how NSI CDC Logistics Data Services is providing last mile connectivity, and they present on all the toll plazas of India. Are they collaborating with FASTag at toll plazas to provide tracking and tracing? Surjit?
Yeah. So, just to answer to this question, Ramprasad ji, so, when you talk about the last mile connectivity and when you see the movements of the containers, so on the CFS leg, in any way, there's a reader in the CFS. So, when a container is out from the terminal, for CFS bound container, they will get the end point visibility. Similarly for the ICDs as well, because we have the readers there. Yes, and then we have also identified certain clusters because, putting readers in each factory in any way, it is not possible. So, we have also identified certain cluster where the maximum consumption of the containers happens, So those clusters have been identified, and we are also trying to, get the approval to install our reader. But the major challenge is, as you know, if a reader has to function, it needs electricity and manpower. And, that's why how Toll Plaza, ICD, CFS, those location readers are functioning. So one is, from this industrial cluster, we have to have, their support and cooperation in terms of getting electricity and taking the responsibility that readers should function. So we are also discussing with some of the association on that. Regarding the, regarding the another part of the question, if I understand, regarding the collaboration with the FASTag, because as you know, the FASTag, it is actually for the, for the truckers, okay? But the collaboration is only possible when someone will map it with the container. Okay, so if, let's say, any of the service provider who is carrying that container, if he is interested to map that, even just to give you, the example of that contest. So one of the largest service provider for Nepal trade from Calcutta, they have approached to us, to do such kind of collaborations also. So, to use the FASTag data. So they have almost 200, 250 tailors. So what they'll do, they will do a kind of API integration with us. So they will send us the details, of those FASTag and those tailors, and they will map with the container. So wherever there is a toll plaza, we have our visibility, we'll give them the location. Otherwise, we'll get it from them. And that is how the entire chain also can be built up. I hope I have replied the question, Ramprasad.
Yeah, Surajit, thank you. There is one question from Mr. Umesh Grover, who is Secretary General of CFSAI. It is directed to all the panelists, so all of you can answer this. With impact of COVID-19 impacting adversely all our friendly nations, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, the logistics are being redefined and costs are really high. With freight rates on long haul going through the sky, do you see a significant growth of trade between our 4 nations, which will be a win-win for all? Because India is also becoming a major export destination for select commodities. Increased trade will open opportunities for development of infra. So starting with Vineet Kumarji, I would like all of you to answer this.
See, we all in this change scenario, we are all looking towards more decentralization of the industrial activity. As of now, in the Asian region, China has been a very, very major industrial hub, and now post-COVID, we are talking of spreading of that activity into the other countries also, and all the countries which are there in the panel, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, all of us have that capability and the required infrastructure, and as of now the willingness, the governments are also willing to attract and also invite the investments from the MNCs and get the production activity more into these countries. Of course, there lies an opportunity for all of us to improve upon the bilateral trade. In fact, there can be possibilities of countries or 4 of us investing in each other also, looking at the possibilities and and the economics. There can be cross-border investments within these 3-4 countries. So there lies an opportunity, but of course it has to be properly nurtured and given a shape. Then definitely there is an opportunity and possibility. I would say at this point of time, it's only an opportunity and possibility. And to make it a reality, we have to really work hard on not only on things like infrastructure, but regulation and the mutual trust and systems of transit and trade. So definitely there is a very great opportunity for all of us to increase the trade among ourselves.
Thank you very much, Vinitji. In fact, yes, the intra-Asia trade, at least among South Asian nations, is very low. There is a need to increase that. Some thoughts from Ramesh?
I think without doubt, India is already Sri Lanka's, the balance of trade is very much in favor of India, where India is a huge source of our imports. And there is a very clear signal from both India and Sri Lanka that there is a desire to increase not only the trade, but also investment. And that's already been given effect to. Sri Lanka has already received a $400 million swap, a currency swap. There's another $1 billion under negotiation. I think there's a clear signal from both governments that there'll be investments. They're looking at investments on the energy sector, in transportation, on both ports and in railways. India is already a big investor on a bilateral basis in the railway sector. So clearly there is advantage within the region where we are probably one of the most populous regions on earth, but also have a very, very limited trade amongst each other. So we see, I see from a Sri Lanka perspective, we are well connected with all of South Asia, with both coasts of India, with Bangladesh, with Pakistan, with the Maldives, and Nepal through India again. So we see the same facilitation role, that there is a role for Sri Lanka also to play, particularly with the growth of shipping links between India and Sri Lanka. I see that getting augmented quite seriously. And certainly on an investment level in terms of the in terms of the geopolitics of it, I think there is a great drive to encourage Indian investment in Sri Lanka and vice versa.
Okay, thank you. One last question I would like to ask both Kabir and Mr. Vinitji. How can we improve the sea mode of transportation like coastal shipping between India and Bangladesh? We have made several efforts, and then still I think the momentum has not picked up. So can you give some insight in what actually is going wrong and what needs to be done? I'll start with Kabir.
Thank you. I think I've been quite a few meetings in Bangladesh Shipping Ministry when India-Bangladesh Transit has been signed, and the forming SOP and most of the meetings I attended on behalf of BAFA. I'm not sure this is the right forum to talk what I'm thinking. Actually, this has to be coming from the regulators. And that was one of my listed items here to talk because I have to go through your questions, and and I had always something in my mind to talk when we are talking about the regional connectivity. Because see, I'm a logistic guy. I don't know if any regulator or whoever is here, because I will shut down my eyes and I don't want to see any border. I want to just move with my cargo wherever I want. So that's how it should be. And today's world, it should be the trend. But what happens? See, we Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Bhutan, or Sri Lanka, all, they see, we are still, following the colonial mentality. Still, even especially our regulators. Still, they talks, doing this, doing that, but at the end of the day, they have a colonial mentality. And that's the major setback, I would say. So that's what one of the meeting I proposed, that I think we really need to emphasize that our regulators, both for the regional connectivity, they need to sit together and they need to make a sort of a forum, a committee or whatever for the SAARC. I'm not sure that SAARC has this kind of any committee for the regulators, especially for the transit connectivity aspect, so that they can sit and then they don't give us any trouble in the border. And I'm a lot of things coming in the newspaper, a lot of stocks. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. Every meeting, we go meeting, but at the end of the day, it doesn't move. So my urge would be to our regulators, Indian regulators or Sri Lanka, whoever are there, actually they really need to look into it, because we need to really do business within the South Asian region, because then we can have in any situation, we can have a smooth supply chain, very short transit time, and then it will be cost effective. So we really need to give a lot of emphasis on it. So I don't know, because see, from our side, for our industry side, from BAFA side, we are always positive about our regional connectivity by all means, because you see, we have a huge river network, and we have a coastal line, and that has been enhanced. I think another 5 or 6, 5 each ports to between India and Bangladesh. And also there is a lot of gray area. If I see the agreement, I'm not going to talk here because it's going to be an endless conversation. And there is lot of hindrance within the contract. So then you cannot do this, you cannot do that. So that's why I think this is the time. It's good that you brought up this. Then we really need to enhance our river transportation so that it would be very cost effective, and also we can our regional connectivity can be enhanced, and then we can have more business. You see, the India and Bangladesh, we have almost $10 billion business now, plus minus. I think Bangladesh is now crossed over 1.2 billion exports. India, I think, exports to Bangladesh almost 8 billion or something. So this is good. So that's growing. So at last meeting I told that we have a lot of imports in Bangladesh. If we import from Europe, you see the transit time, you see the cost, everything. And if we import from India or even from Sri Lanka, if the sources are available, even if it is from Bangladesh to India, you see the cost and the transit time, the effectiveness, and then we can increase our regional business. Anyway, maybe I'm talking a lot. So I would definitely, from our part, I will say that we should really give more emphasis to this area so that we can have a smooth regional sea passage connectivity. Thank you. I hope I answered.
Yeah. Not only answered, I think I triggered a very, very serious issue. So Vinit Kumar is also a part of regulator, but what I would like to hear from him is, sir, there is a rail service started to Bangalore to Bangladesh to transport the containers. But you are a strong believer that always sea and river routes are more economical, more viable. So how can we improve and what should both sides be doing from a port operator side rather?
Okay. Now let me tell you one figure I like to tell you first thing is that in 2016 we used to do 300 containers per month to Bangladesh. 2016, yes, 2016, the per month container which Calcutta Port used to send to Bangladesh was 300. Today it is 500. So today is 1500 containers per month. Right? It's a very marginal figure. It's a very small figure, but let's see. If you see numbers, it has come from 300 to 1500. So the number has grown from 300 to 1500. If we see the transit PIWTT, the Inland Waterway Transit Treaty or the Coastal Treaty, from 16 onward, it became little came into better shape, and thereafter these efforts have started. So first of all, my point is that whatever efforts we have made, it has given us some positive results. That is the first point. If you see figure wise, though it may not be a very big figure, but yes, it is a 5-fold jump from 300 per month to 1500 per month. That is number one. Number two, in this process, as you said, I am a part of the regulatory body also because I am a part of the committee which discusses normally I am there in the discussions in Bangladesh government, and the last 3 years I have visited Bangladesh twice. So we are exploring number of things with each other. Number of port of calls have been added both on Indian side and on Indian side as well as on Bangladesh side. Lot of dredging is going on in Bangladesh. New terminal is coming up in Ashuganj. I think these are the initiatives which are there in the pipeline. It will take maybe another year or for them to fructify and really make things happen. One good thing which is, I'll tell you, is the extempore response which I get very recently. We started the transit movement from Chittagong to Agartala. We sent only, to begin with, for the trial, we sent only 2 containers. But from next day onward, we started getting a lot of queries from there as to how we can send. Still, people are asking us. Now we are in finalization with the Bangladesh government to make that protocol a permanent protocol. That was a trial protocol which was issued. Now we are issuing a permanent protocol. So it's important to have the volumes. See I always say one thing, that the sea freight from Calcutta to to Chittagong to Calcutta is $400 to $500. The sea freight from Calcutta to Colombo or Singapore is $150. From Calcutta, it is 150, 200 to Chittagong, which is 1.5 days voyage, it is $500. The reason being is very simple: volumes, imbalance of trade. So two things we have to address. We have to have volumes. That is number one. Second is imbalance of trade. We have to, have that balance of trade. We have proposed something to Bangladesh government to send some of their transshipment cargo to this side. There are geographical limitations also we have to understand. See, we have a land border also, right, above at Benapol, Petrapol. So if something which is going from here to the western part of Bangladesh, it is easier to go by road. But if something is going to the eastern part of Bangladesh, Chittagong and that area, then it is better to go by water route. So all these efforts are going on. One by one, we are going ahead. We are streamlining the processes. We are doing things. But I always look at it, there is a five-fold rise. And with the, more initiatives coming in and maybe this dredging thing maybe over in another year or so, both the PIWTT route and the coastal route will definitely give us, good results. There is a fundamental, positive into this. So it's only a matter of time that this really comes out fully as we think it to be.
Thank you very much, Vinit ji. On that positive note, gentlemen, I have to end this session. We had a very interesting discussion, starting with there are a lot of positive vibes coming in. Ramesh talked about initially, though there was issues and challenges, now things are coming back to normalcy, and the numbers, September numbers seems to be very promising, and now digitalization initiatives are being taken. Similarly, Kabir mentioned the numbers look good. Textile business has come back with the same vigor. He doesn't see any challenges in cargo. Same with Naresh Agarwal. Whatever other issues we were facing pre-COVID era, a lot of them have been sorted out with all the cooperation from Calcutta Port. And Surajit has given an outline of current initiatives the company is doing in container analytics and then container movement transparency, and which he is looking forward to extend the same to the neighboring countries very proactively into Bangladesh and Nepal. So in Containers India, since morning, all the three panel discussions have showed a lot of positivity. I think the past 6 months, I think we have come out of the blues, and then things are improving. Future looks bright, and a lot of panelists also earlier said that it's only a matter of another 3 months that things will back to normal business as usual. On that note, I thank all of you, Mr. Ramesh, David, Kabir Ahmed, Naresh Agarwal, Surajit Sarkar, and finally our port chairman, Vinit Kumarji, for taking your time and participating in this. So as you must be aware, Containers India is our annual event, and due to COVID scenario that we held it on a virtual platform. Since morning, we had all our experts from all countries have participated who are involved within container trade. I thank all of them, and also on sponsors, without whose help we would not have been able to bring this conference together. Alcargo Logistics, Container Shipping Lines Association, Drewry Maritime, NICDC Logistics Data Services, South Asia Gateway Terminals, Linkit, Europa Ports, Bhatia Shipping, KMR Automation, and associations like AMTOY and CFSAI. With this, I thank all my speakers as well as the participants who have participated since morning and are actively posted questions to the panelists. So thank you very much. Look forward to see you in near future, and let us keep interacting with each other. As Chairman a while ago said, with more interaction, we can resolve the challenges that we have among our countries. It is possible. Thank you very much. Stay safe, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.